Okay, I wanted to spend a little bit of time kind of just talking about some basic offensive football, what kind of 101 American football. So we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball in this video. We may have some future ones where we talk about defense or different things about football as you maybe learn in the game. So offense is when your team or the team that where you're representing possesses the football. Offense is the group that can score points. There's several ways they can score. The basic idea offensively is to try to score touchdowns, which are worth 6 points, or get into position where you can maybe kick a field goal. And I may do a future video on all the scoring. I wanted this one to mainly be on the positions. So if you're playing offense, there are multiple positions you can play, and we'll kind of walk through what each one of those look like. But the first thing we have to define is what is a legal offensive formation in American football. So there's a couple different things that make a formation legal, and then there's a lot of different ways teams can decide to abide within those rules. So the first thing is you must have 5 what are called offensive linemen. These are players who are not eligible to possess the ball, which one of them will snap it. We'll talk about that here in a minute. That guy's the center. Usually 99% of the time, those guys are going to be the center is in the middle. The 2 guards are right next to him. And then the 2 offensive tackles kind of are the ends of the line. You got to have at least 5 of those. The ball has got to be snapped. Usually that's snapped by the center. And you can see in this picture here, you're looking at Pittsburgh is on offense. They actually have 5 linemen plus a tight end. And we'll look at what that looks like in a minute. The guy snapping the ball to the quarterback, that's the center. Okay. You must have 7 people that are on the line of scrimmage. So in this picture, if you can look, you have this receiver who is on the line of scrimmage. And then you also have 5 linemen plus a tight end, which is 7 guys on the line of scrimmage. The 2 guys on the ends are eligible to receive a ball, which means you can throw it to them. The guys that are inside of them, which are most of the time your offensive linemen, are ineligible, which means they're not eligible to catch a ball. They're only eligible to block. Okay, only 5 guys are eligible to catch a ball. So in this picture, the end of the line is eligible. This tight end right here would be eligible. He's on the end of the line. This wide receiver is off of the line of scrimmage, which means he's in what's called the backfield. So he's eligible to receive a ball. Both of these 2 running backs, and one's a fullback and one's a tailback, but they're both running backs, are in the backfield. So they're eligible to touch the ball. So on a given snap, 6 different players, if you count the quarterback, are able to touch the ball in some way, shape, or form. And we'll kind of walk through those positions in this video. So this is, again, kind of a diagram. If you're looking at it, the top is defense, and we're not really worried about them right now. The bottom would be the offensive side of the ball. So the center is the one who usually would snap the ball. Then you have the guards who would be next to the center, and then the tackles. And then if you have a kind of a bigger guy with his hand in the ground, that's usually referred to as a tight end because he's tight, or a wide receiver is a wide, he's split out wide. Offenses do not have to play with a tight end. They could play with multiple wide receivers. They could play with no wide receivers and only tight ends and running backs. They have options outside of the 5 linemen. The quarterback, we'll go through him in a minute, is going to receive the ball. He can get it under center, or he can get it in what's called the shotgun, where he's off of the line of scrimmage. And then the running backs, again, a team can have multiple running backs and put them in different positions. Anybody who is not on the line of scrimmage is considered in the backfield, and thus they're eligible to touch a ball. And then the ends of the line, in this picture here, the tight end and the wide receiver are on the ends. So even though they're on the line of scrimmage, they can receive a ball. Okay, running back, we'll kind of start there. Again, a team could have multiple running backs. This is generally one of the better athletes on the team. A good picture here of the Cleveland Browns running back. Most of them are pretty physical athletes that can run the ball, and they're able to also receive the ball either out of the backfield, or you can move them around. They're movable pieces. This is usually, in most offenses, somebody's going to touch the ball quite often. because if the offense wants to run the ball, it's the most logical guy to get the ball to. They've also generally have to be able to block or willing to block if they're not getting the ball. And so they've got to have a lot of different skill sets to be successful. And again, they can be lined up as in this diagram in the backfield, or you could take a guy who's a running back and split him out, put him out at like a receiver position, even though he's technically a running back. Okay. Quarterbacks. Okay. Tom Brady here, been around for a long time. Quarterbacks are vitally important to any offense. They are usually going to touch the ball every single snap unless there's some exotic or different trick play formation. So usually they're going to be very important to the offense, and they can obviously hand the ball off. They throw the ball. They're the guy who usually throws the ball, the receivers or running backs. Or in a lot of offenses, this guy may run the ball. He may be one of the better athletes. You snap it directly to him and allow him to run. Quarterbacks can receive the snap under center, and that's what you saw in the diagrams I've got drawn up here, right here under center, or in what's called the shotgun, which would simply move him back, usually about 5 yards, and the center would snap the ball between his legs, kind of like a backwards pass, where he would catch it. Again, this player is usually considered to be a field general, is a term you'll hear a lot for him. Is a guy who's going to touch the ball quite often. Okay, and they're called a quarterback. A lot of different flavors of quarterbacks. Wide receivers. Okay, some offenses will have multiple wide receivers, depending on the style of play. So you could have anywhere from 5 wide receivers to 0 wide receivers, depending on the situation and the team you have. Generally, these guys are split out away from the line. And so you kind of saw on the original picture we had, again, they're out away over here, away from the linemen. And usually their main way they get the ball is by being thrown the ball, and they have to catch the ball as well. Generally, these are going to be faster athletes. As you can see in this picture, very athletic player who can catch the ball. You can hand the ball to wide receivers. It's not as common, but it can happen. And then they can also move around the field quite a bit, a lot like running backs, where they may line up on the left and the next play they're on the right. They may line up on the line of scrimmage. They may line up off the line of scrimmage, depending on what kind of offense you have. And then as you can see on the bottom, you can hand them the ball. A lot of times you can bring them in motion or motion them into the backfield, and they can get handed the ball if need be. Probably the least known position is the offensive line. If you've never really paid attention to football, usually our offensive linemen are larger players, and obviously at the higher levels, they are some of the biggest players. There are 5 different positions. Really, there's 3 main positions, and then there's a left and a right side. There are 5 linemen on the field at all times. The center, as you can see in this picture, and this is a shotgun snap, can snap the ball in the shotgun, or the quarterback can walk underneath him and take it under center. He literally is called the center because he's the center of the formation. He's in the middle. Okay, the quarterback is usually right behind him. And most linemen's jobs are to protect the quarterback or to block. Block simply means to move the defense out of the way so the offense can execute whatever play they may have. Next to the center here, number 70 would be a guard. Guards can be in 2 or 3-point stances. This is not a stance video, but he's in what's called a 2-point stance, where only 2 things are touching the ground. A lot of times when you see linemen, I'll go back to the original picture we had, they're going to have their hand in the ground as well. That's called a 3-point stance, because there's 3 different things touching the ground. So linemen can be in a 2 or a 3-point stance. Next to the guard would be the tackle. And then you're going to have the same thing mirrored on the other side. Generally, these are bigger players, as I mentioned. They are not eligible to touch the ball unless there's some kind of trick or exotic play. But even then, it's hard to do that depending on the level you're playing. But the numbers also matter for linemen. They have to be numbered between number 50 and number 79, which makes them ineligible by position, but also ineligible by number. Only guys over the number 80 or under the number 49 are eligible to receive a ball if you throw it. And so that's just a quick general overview offensively of the different positions. To me, the main thing you can learn as a fan or somebody who's trying to pick up on the game of football is understanding who's eligible to catch a ball, who is not eligible, understanding the basic ideas of each position. I've got more materials that will be coming out in these football 101s on this YouTube channel. There's also plenty of information if you would like more in-depth stuff on football on this channel as well.